Hello, everyone. My name is Jordi Sandalinas. My background is satellite and drone law. I'm also a drone pilot. Also, a part of my background focuses on marine environmental law and geospatial law. Law and policy. I serve as a lecturer for the Open University of Barcelona and the Distant University of Madrid. I would like to focus on the legal and the economical benefits of the Maritime European Directives. The title refers also to the Copernicus Spatial data and its implications. The recent researches and initiatives that are important to highlight are the ones that I will refer in the next slides. The initial stage of the research obliges me to refer to the European directives featuring important deadlines to take into account. First, the European member states are bound to prove that their seas and oceans have reached a good environmental status by 2020. That is to say, we're currently in 2021. So 2020 last year was the year where all marine waters of the European Union shall present good environmental status. This is so according to the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. Also, the 2014 Maritime Spatial Planning Directive obliges all member states to allocate their maritime infrastructures, but according to many environmental factors that we will also refer. There's also a third directive called the 2000 Water Framework Directive that sets out 2021 and 2027 as I say, important deadlines, according to which certain standards must be met. However, I will refer in the present paper to the Maritime and Maritime Directives and the Marine Strategy Framework Directive because it's the topic of my research. Remote sensing is the technology that allows to capture and gather information from a distance. Normally, it's carried by satellites. Can be carried from also aircrafts and also spaceborne technologies. Of course, satellites are the most relevant devices, and they satellites while orbiting the Earth capture information from our planet, and such information known as telemetry is sent to ground stations and also to the corresponding lab. So that information is afterwards interpreted and some value-added product can be obtained. Also, it's important to know that there are international cooperation mechanisms that allow states and international organizations and governments to share data in cases of disaster, climate emergency, and so many others. So it's possible to obtain satellite pictures from the internet, from several websites that allocate satellite imagery, and there are also some free images as well. So open data is also a very important question in this regard. So the Copernicus regulation establishes the maritime or the marine application. I would refer to maritime as whatever that is concerning to the industry involving the sea and marine, whatever involves nature. Indeed, the regulation 377 refers to the free use of the information, and also refers that the Copernicus program, as far as marine waters is concerned, sets out the stage that allows the Copernicus technology, the Copernicus program, to gather information about the biochemistry, temperature, the current tides, and many more factors that are important to our research. In this regard, as I said, temperature, biochemistry, current tides, ice sheet are important factors that shall be taken into account. So what happens from an economical perspective is that this stage boosts and help to enhance the economical situation of the environmental world, because it enhances the protection of the environment from one side, and also it encourages the creation of value-added products that can be used for environmental purposes or many other reasons. So adding value-added products to raw data so can allow us to enhance our economical benefits if, for instance, we have our own limited company, or we run an international company with branches in many different places. So the commercial transactions related to satellite imagery is a very well known matter that happens, that is very common, and it's also useful not only for the environment, but it's also useful for capturing information to be used for commercial purposes or many reasons, such as insurances, agricultural applications, forests, you name it. So the important EU laws that I referred to before are the Marine Strategy Framework Directive that was enacted in 2008, the Maritime Spatial Planning Directive that was enacted in 2014, the Inspire Directive that refers to the spatial infrastructure and fosters the interoperability of the spatial infrastructure among the states of the European Union, and the Environmental Directive that protects the environment and states that the polluter pays in case of an environmental damage. So again, those are legal implications, but also they have economical consequences, as I will point out. As far as the Marine Strategy Framework Directive is concerned, we need to focus on the annex, but the goals of the Marine Strategy Framework Directive is to protect and preserve the marine environment, to prevent its deterioration, to prevent and reduce inputs in the marine environment and the marine ecosystems, and therefore protect human health and the legitimate uses of the sea. So again, this marine directive has an implication on the economical side as well, because it concentrates and determines and tells our society in Europe how to behave according to the sea, and obliges the states to reach to a good environmental status of the waters. Therefore, if states are currently serious about the enforcement and the implementation of this regulation, then it means that there will be a lot of jobs created around this topic, dedicated to the maintenance and the protection of the seas. Our seas, of course, suffer from acidification. There's issues like marine litter, fish nets that are found floating on the sea with no one to take care of them. Also, many different debris that damages the environment, the marine ecosystem. In order to address all this situation, we need jobs and people dedicated to the protection of our environment. Therefore, we will boost our economy in this regard. So the annex is important, and the annex 3 of such directive, because it indicates the list of the characteristics, pressures, and impacts that shall be taken into account, as referred by Article 8 and Article 9. Also, as far as the directive from 2014 establishes a framework for maritime spatial planning. This directive refers to the allocation, the obligation that individuals, companies, and states shall allocate the resources in order to distribute spatially and temporally human activities in the marine areas. So why is that? Because of the impact. So my interpretation of the application of such directive is that it needs to respect an environmental approach in order to fulfill the environmental requirements as set out by different international instruments. Of course, with the advent of climate change and the situation of emergency, well, focusing at the moment, we need to act. Some facts about the ocean life every day. 23 million tons of cargo and 55,000 cruise passengers are traveling by ship every day. These are data obtained from the International Maritime Organization in 2015. So with an average growth of 8%, as referred to by UNESCO, the use of the seas for commercial purposes shall be controlled and monitored in order to let nature to rebound. So this can have an economical implication, because we may think that we can restrict the economical activity, the maritime activity. However, the maritime industry could find other ways instead that could prevent environmental damage from happening. And I'm sure if we encourage enough the sector, the maritime sector and the industry that works on the sea, by the sea, and with the sea. So they are the main stakeholders interested in promoting the protection of the environment in this regard. So again, this directive refers, as I said, to the allocation of activities involving the seas of Europe. It increases cross-border cooperation. Therefore, it might have an economical impact, because then such increase of international and transnational cooperation enhances the creation of new jobs, of course. So the goal is to protect the environment. That's how I see the application of and the implementation of such directive. And of course, we need to enhance the use of the maritime space, and we need that such use is sustainable enough to respect nature, but also capable to assure the economical activity of the company that dedicates its efforts to the sea. So what fields might have an economical impact in this regard? So the field of aquaculture, installation of infrastructures for the exploitation and extraction of oil, gas, the conservation of nature and species, military training areas, submarine cable, underwater cultural heritage, and tourism, to name but a few. Again, of course, there are specially protected areas of Mediterranean importance that has been created, and those areas could be considered as, quote, sanctuaries, and those areas are important because nature shall be preserved over there, and the maritime industry should not interfere in those areas. That's personal opinion in this regard. So we need to find ways to respect nature and the ecosystems and the eutrophication chains in those places. As it's normal to understand, there are many environmental concerns, and of course, states are obliged to comply also with those regulations. Therefore, using the transparency regulations that exist nowadays, we can address to our own states to ask whether the job has been done properly and accurately. So, as far as marine protected areas is concerned, we might identify as far as, well, I live by the Mediterranean, so I can refer to the marine corridor in the Mediterranean. It has 1,350 kilometers long, will benefit around say 3,500 fin whales. The migration of marine mammals is really important to take into account, and the target is to conserve and to preserve at least the 10% of the coastal and the marine areas by 2020. So it's worth to check whether the effect of that regulation is positive, or we need to reassess any point in particular. So economical efforts address to minimize the impact of carbon dioxide on the seas and to the seas and from the seas is very important, because the seas and oceans of our planet absorb 30 and 40, between 30 and 40 of percent of the carbon dioxide that comes out from human activities. Recent estimates have calculated that the carbon release and the CO2 from fossil fuel burning is a topic that needs to be revisited in order to push the presence of more sustainable technologies and more sustainable energies. In this regard, one of the calculations of particles per million of one of the observatories on planet Earth refers to a level of 407 parts of CO2, particles per million, and we need to avoid that such levels go higher. So in this regard, it's important to understand that climate change is real. We need to work together. We need to cooperate. We need to create interoperability systems that minimize efforts, maximize outputs, and we need to create a society and push and foster economical activities addressed to protect our environment. Our environment is our future, and if humans do not let the marine areas to rebound, then we will be subject to a climate drama, because the seas will, one way or the other, lose the population of fish, marine mammals, biodiversity in general, you name it. So thank you very much for your kindness, and I'm looking forward to hear your comments and suggestions.